Good day, my classmate. I am John Brian Alfonso, your reporter for today. I am group number 4. Ang among ang ang members sa group number 4 is si Solmayor, Kelvin, Aligado Richard ug ako Alfonso John Brian. Ang among topic is Philippine watershed delineation of drainage area. Kani siya nga topic is kay Solmayor na ni siya. So mag-adto na ta sa ako ang topic dito kay para mas madali ka ay usa ba sa page number 17. Okay, kani siya nga report is continuation na ni siya sa report ni Mayor kay si Mayor man nag-start ani nga nag-report ani nga sa whole topic ani. So mo ni ako ang topic, delineation of a drainage area. Watershed delineation is the process of identifying the drainage area of points or set of points. For many years, civil engineers have been using United States Geological Survey or USGS paper maps for watershed delineation. Para mas masabot na ito, sabot pa ang delineation of a drainage area na ko'y i-paper na video para mas masabot na ito may dito kay mas maya mo ito siya may explain dito. Okay, stop share sana ako ang stop share sana ako ang screen kay magkita ang video.
All right, welcome back. Here we have an example of a topography map, and we're gonna delineate a watershed here, right? So let's talk about this map really quick. I kind of drew or wrote some of the elevation numbers here. We have here's our red point down here, and that's going to be our outlet. So step 1, right? Step 1 is to identify the outlet. That's already done. It's right here. Okay, that's the outlet. So this is where all the water is gonna flow out to. And then we have contour lines. We have elevations. This outlet seems to be around elevation 4800, and then as we move up to the right, elevations seem to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so the first step was to identify the outlet, which we just did. All right, the second step is to identify high points. So if we look at this map, if we look at the bottom right, we can see that there's a high point here, and it's at elevation 7515. Okay, if we keep looking around the map, we find one here. Here's an elevation, a high elevation point. Here's another one. Then we have this one up here of 7,025. And there's one here. Let's see, any place else that you guys see? Well, you guys can't talk to me, but I think that's it. So those are the high points. All right, so that's step 2. The third step is to identify the ridges and the valleys. Okay, and remember, when we find valleys, we usually draw little tributaries on them. So let's say we had, actually the valleys are kind of already shown. We have these two rivers here, right? This river here, and then there's one down here, and then there's also little tiny tributaries. So if I had a water droplet here, there would be something like that. That might be a small little valley. Maybe some more, maybe not. No. All right. So that's some of our valleys, and then we have ridges. So how do we actually connect ridges and high points together? So we start at this outlet, and we go perpendicular to the lines for all the ridges. Okay, so what we want to do, actually let me start up here. There's 2 high points here, right? There's one here and there's one here. How do we connect them together? Well, ridges need to be at the highest elevation possible. So this ridge right here would look something like this. Boom, connected. These 2 lines are connected. And then this one and this one, we want to draw perpendicular to the lines. it would look something like this. Oops, let me redo that. So it would look something like this. Go perpendicular to the lines, right? And then we have a high point down here, the 7515, and we have this high point down here. So we want to connect those perpendicularly. That's not a word. Is it a word? I don't know, maybe. We want to connect these perpendicular, and boom, there's another ridge. So if we come back here, there's this outlet, and there's this high point up here. There's no high points in between, but what I do know is that my knowledge of ridges is that this right here is a ridge. So I'm connecting these lines perpendicular to one another until I reach a high point, which is right there. All right, and then we have this high point up here, and then there's this apparent ridge right here. You kind of see that. And there's really no right way to do it, but there are a million wrong ways to do them. You just do this with practice. So you identify ridges. Here's another ridge. This might look something like this. And here things get a little tricky because you think this ridge, I'm going to draw this in squiggly lines. You think the ridge is going to go all the way there, but our outlet's here. So we need to turn around and connect this outlet. Okay, so this black line that we drew, that's our watershed. Okay, and I actually did step 5 right now. I delineated the watershed, but really there's no right way to do this, but there are many wrong ways to do this. My recommendation is just look up different topography maps, draw a random dot somewhere, and identify the high points, the valleys, the ridges, and then connect the ridges and the high points and the outlet together, and draw your watershed. So in our case, this watershed is all of this, everything within this black boundary right here. So this visually is a watershed. All right.
First, we have
Okay, nahumala atong video, no? Capture na lang ako ni siya. So, mag-share na po ko screen na ako. Mag-screen na ako. PowerPoint. Okay, sa next na ta. Maraming siya, watershed delineation and drainage area measurement. Watershed or drainage basins are comprised of a network stream channels that link from smaller to larger, providing conduits for surface water runoff and sediment transport on the Earth's surface. Kani siya nga picture, kung makita niya akong mouse, muna siya ang example sa picture sa stream channels. Kani siya, muna yung dala agyanan sa tubig. So nasa mga area diri nga dili siya basa. Okay? At sa pikas po nga picture kanina siya to mo ning tawag na basins na pagbasa ni. Basins no siguro ni. I-correct na ko niyo pag mali ko, i-PM na lang ko. Okay? Tamo na siya, basins murag tapukanan sa tubig ba? Gikan siya sa mga river nga gagmay kay magtapok, murag lake siya nga gamay. Magtapok diri ang tubig. Mo na gitawag nila nga basins. Okay? Topographic, next na punta. Topographic map. A map characterized by a larger scale, details, and quantitative presentation of relief, usually using control lines. Okay, next. Step in delineating a drainage area. Step 1, use topographic maps to locate rivers, river, lake, stream, wetlands, or others water bodies of interest. Okay. Steps 2, trace the water course from its source to its mouth include the tributaries. Ang tributaries is mo ni siya kaning murag mga gagmay good ni siya nga river na moadto siya sa river nga dako murag kanal kung sa Bisaya kanal murag kanal ni siya nga moadto siya sa river nga dako mosayang murag main road kung sa main road. Nagits na to siguro ako explanation, di ba? Okay, next na ta. Steps to na ta. These steps determine the general beginning and ending boundaries. I-determine na mo ang beginning and ending boundaries. Okay, mo na ni, dili lang tama lang report kay napaman si Richard Alegado. Next mag-continue ani nga report. So, dili lang tataman siguro. And magandang araw and magandang dinsan. Thank you. Stop share.